and get started with Guide Series number 9. Um, we're going to do the next story car, which is actually the eighth story car. If you recall, last time we had to make some money to be able to get the paint shop. So that's kind of where we left off. Um, so we'll pop into our story car here. Let's go ahead and read this. So we have a 1990 FMW Panther MK1 Performance. That is a BMW technically, um, but again, Playway apparently or Payway didn't get the permission to use BMW, so it's an FMW. That's fine. All right, let's read the story. Hey, hi. So yeah, I borrowed the car from my dad. He kind of doesn't know about it because he's on a business trip. And you see, it happened that I was driving home at night and something jumped out in front of the car. I was driving very slowly. I really was. I didn't manage to brake, and you can see the result in front of you. The car was thrown around a bit, but it cannot be that bad, can it? Please do what you have to do to cover up the tracks. My father will hate me if he realizes I messed around with his gem. It's his beloved car. Please make it quick. Let's repair or replace body parts, change the oil and refill it with new, spray it factory color, and then there'll be some other tasks. So let's go ahead and take that order. Okay, so he apparently also drove it like through the middle of the desert because it is just filthy. I mean, this is layers of filth. This is just terrible. I mean, how could you even see through that windshield? That's awful. All right, let's look at the story. So we have 2 pages of parts to figure out. The bumper at the front, the front fenders, both of them, the rear bumper, and the right headlight need to be repaired or replaced. Change the oil, spray at the factory paint color, and then change the coolant and refill windshield washer fluid. Well, that explains why his windshield's not clean. He doesn't have any washer fluid. All right. So let's do this. Before we even do anything, let's wash it. Now, before you paint a car, you have to wash it anyway. So let's go ahead and get the wash done. This actually doesn't cost us anything at the shop to wash a car. So being a nice mechanic, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and detail this car for him. Why not? Tell your friends about us, right? All right, so we know we have some body panels that have to be fixed. So the front bumper B, let's just take that front bumper off. This is my way of keeping track of which parts I have to deal with. Front left fender, front right fender, and the rear bumper. Oops. There's a fender, and the bumper. And was it the right headlight or the left headlight? I think it was the right. Right headlight B. Now when you see B next to a part name, let's pop into our tablet. There's a body work station and a body tuning station. Now the tuning station will have some parts that are a little bit pricier but maybe look a little cooler. So on our part that we have to replace, it's a bumper B, front and rear. The MK1 front fender, those will be at the normal store because they don't have a letter by it. And the headlight will be at the performance store. So let's buy the right headlight, front bumper, and the rear bumper. Take those off my list. And then let's go to the normal bodyworks shop and buy the 2 front fenders. There's the left and the right. And we'll pop in here and assemble. And we'll put on the nice new bumper and his old crappy license plate. The left fender, right fender, and then that new headlight. so those parts are... Oh, we almost forgot the rear bumper. Rear bumper. Okay, so we've replaced the body panels that were asked to be replaced. These actually still don't look like they're in great shape, honestly. Like that rust and... But hey, this is what the customer asked for, so we'll do what we're asked to deal with. Change oil and drain, spray it factory color, coolant, and windshield washer fluid. Now we clearly have some diagnostics to do here, so let's go to normal mode. Let's pop into the engine bay, and we'll start off with our onboard diagnostic scan. This is a modern engine, more modern car, so it'll have the port. Alright, so ignition system looks good, catalytic converters are fine, the ABS module, all that stuff looked good. Alright, let's do a compression test. See how those pistons, camshafts, and rings are looking. Alright, so this, at least by the look, it looks like it's low compression. So we might have some issues here. It is a little low on the compression, but everything tests out okay. Everything's in the yellow. Okay. And put the electric meter on, do some digital testing. 67, 66, 69, 70, 68, 74. All these parts are going to be fine. The graphics that they're actually showing you give you the percentage of the parts they're testing. So everything there was fine. And tread tester. One tire 67, 75, 75, and 3. So we need a tire. Yep, race tire. And fuel system. Let's check on the fuel system. It looks like it's got good pressure, so yeah, fuel system's fine. Excuse me. So let's go to examine mode. So it's that passenger side rear tire that is poor condition. These are the parts that we have just done our diagnostics on, are all lit up in color. Go back into examine mode, and I'll start on the driver's side front wheel, and we'll examine these parts. Alright, that was kind of cool. Nothing there that looked really out of whack. Let's see, does this car run? Here's a way that's kind of fun to drive the car. You right-click it when you're sitting in it and hit start car. There's no engine oil, so I can't perform that action. That's alright. So we know we need to deal with something else here, so let's go back to examine mode. Let's examine the engine. See if there's any parts that the mechanic can identify off the bat that look poor. We're not probably have to get too much into engine work here, it looks like. So it's probably going to be suspension. We know we have a tire we have to deal with. Obviously we have to address the coolant. On the fuse system. Looks fine. Air filter and clips. Fine. Check that front cross member. Okay, that looks alright. Exhaust system. Looks okay. Fine. Drive shaft. And let's examine the rear cross member. Could be brake system too. We haven't really looked at the brakes. The bushings, rubber bushings in the cross members. Those are common parts that get screwed up. And hey, there's that right rear suspension system looks like it is just trashed. Tires screwed up on that side, obviously. So we're probably going to be dealing a lot with that right rear issue. Okay. I think this is all we can examine. Go back to normal mode. Go to our car status. So the tire on that, we knew that. The knuckle housing, the rear drive axle, the suspension arm, rear cap, wheel hub, and then there's a few parts that we still haven't discovered. But just based on the way this car is testing out, I'm betting it's all going to be on that right rear issue that we're going to have to deal with. So let's go ahead and move the car to our first car lifter. Let's pop it up in the air. I think that rim is bad too, just based on the amount of rust, surface rust that's on that rim. I'll go ahead and move the equipment over. Based on trying to start the car, I don't think there's much oil in there. There's a little. Filter looks bad. Let's go ahead and pull the oil filter. That might have been another part that was poor. Yep, oil filter. And I'll just go ahead and go to my tablet. I'll just type in filter. Oil filter for a V8. There it is. And we'll pop on the new filter. Okay, so that's addressed. Let's go back to the rear tire. Take the rear tire off. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my inventory. It says 7%. I bet that's the rim is bad too. Yep, rim 18A is poor. So we just have 6 more parts to identify that have screwed up. The brake system here looks terrible. If we go to examine mode, you can see we haven't identified the brakes yet. We also haven't identified that rubber bushing. That's shock absorber. The bushing here, the small rubber bushing here. Just based on the spring and the spring cap. Those are probably parts I just pull on this side, just based on the fact that everything else on the right side on the rear is screwed up. So let's separate the tire. While that's separating in our tire machine, we can head back to the car, take off the caliper, and the brake pad, disc, and we can get the drive axle, bushing, or bearing, excuse me. Get this cap off. And I'm going to pull that shock. And look at the amount of rust on this spring. Now, we hadn't identified that previously, but just based on the fact that everything else on this right rear was screwed up and the amount of rust, I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out. Take this off. Take the upper suspension arm. There's 2 bolts here. One there. One over here. Cut it off. Then this control arm has a rubber bushing at the top first. Cut that off. Then we'll take this control arm off with these 3 bolts. This cross link. Take that off. Then we can take the, oh, forgot one more control arm. And then this housing has a small rubber bushing that sits right down here. This one's kind of hidden, so sometimes you'll miss this one. You have to take that bushing off before you can take the housing off. So now we've pulled all the suspension out of that right rear. Let's go ahead and look at the car's status, and we've identified all the parts. So it was all just in that right rear that was screwed up. All right, our tires should be separated now. Let's pull the tire. And I'm going to sort our list by condition And that way we can body panels we've already addressed. So let's just sell the body panels. And we'll have here the oil filter we also bought, so I just sell that. All right, I'm going to right click all these parts that are red. This adds them to our shopping list. Great. We got to remember the rim size and the tire size. Again, this is a pet peeve of mine. If you add it to your shopping list and then you were to click that on your shopping list in the tire store or in the rim store, it doesn't put in the right size. So just have a sheet of paper and just write it down so it's easier to remember. Because also when you're on the shopping list and you're putting in the tire size, you can't access your shopping list. So the only way you can have it is if you remember it, which obviously you can use your memory, I suppose. For me, I just like writing it down just in case I forget. So 235, 35, 18 race tire. So let's pop to our tire shop. We'll buy that first. So I added a race tire here just to show you. Like right now I'm into the race tire. The default it pops to is a 12 135 60. That's our wrong tire size. So if I just clicked on my shopping list, click the part, assuming that that was the right part, that would be incorrect. Now if I hit tab right now to pull up my shopping list to recheck the price, I can't do that right now. So how could I do this? I either have to remember it or your sheet of paper. So it's an 18-inch tire, 235, and it's a 35 profile. One race tire. Okay. Go to my shopping list. I'm going to take that race tire off, and we need a rim. So let's go to the rim store. It is a rim 18A. Again, the default here, 12. Can't pull up your shopping list, but we remember it's an 18-inch rim. Buy. So let's take the rim off our shopping list, and we'll head back to the car parts shop and start buying all the parts we need off our shopping list. Oops, I just bought 2 pads. That's fine. Can always use extra brake pads. And honestly, that's on my main save, if you looked at any of those videos, I have a lot of these cheaper suspension parts, rubber bushings, brake pads. I have an inventory of literally hundreds of those parts. And the reason I do that is that you use those on so many cars, and as you're going through and restoring cars or taking customer jobs, you're like, I just need one rubber bushing. Well, it's really somewhat annoying to have to pop to the store just to buy one rubber bushing. So why on earth would I do that when I can just have a pile of them in my inventory, and I don't have to deal with popping in just to buy one bushing. Now, early game like we are here, even this, I'd still consider this earlier game. I'm not going to waste the money having an inventory of a lot of parts because, gosh, finances are tight. We still have to upgrade our shop. We still want to buy our own cars. There's a lot of things we have to do yet. So let's go ahead and install the new tire and rim, or new tire on the new rim. That's actually a cool looking tire and rim. And we'll balance the wheel. Take that off. Go over here and then mount up our parts. I always get this little small rubber bushing first because it's one I forget. Okay, I'm going to put on the spring cap and the nice new unrusted spring. Shock absorber cap. Little hub. Let's go over here and get this side done. Rear suspension link. End link here. Shock absorber. Upper suspension arm. rear suspension arm. Bushing. Now let's check our car status. Just making sure. Dang it. All right, so sometimes this will happen. So we had a rubber bushing here, right? We also had 2 rubber bushings on this upper suspension arm. Now, it's not registering that we have fixed a rubber bushing because likely whichever rubber bushing was bad was in a spot we didn't put the 100% bushing. So how can you fix this? Honestly, you could try to go back and remember. The easier way in my mind, just go in here and buy 3 more rubber bushings. They cost you 15 bucks. And just replace them. That way you're putting in each spot a nice 100% rubber bushing. So whichever rubber bushing was incorrect, we now have fixed, hopefully. Check our car status. Alright, see, that fixed the rubber bushing issue. And we have a few spare rubber bushings for our next job. Which is fine. Brake disc, get that bearing. Put the new drive axle on. Brake pad. Brake caliper. Cylinder. And we'll put on the nice new balanced rim and wheel. Alright, so check our car status. And all that suspension work and tire is done. We've already drained the oil. So let's drop this out of the air. Put some oil. I think we just had to refill the coolant and washer fluid. I don't think we had to drain it first. Refill, change coolant. So we have to drain the coolant. So go to your coolant reservoir first. Right click, additional tools, drain tool. You guys are getting old hat at this, I'm sure. There's the coolant. Right click to part on mount. Unmount the cap. Pull in the coolant. Alright, there's the coolant. And then just put in some new washer fluid. Alright, washer fluid. And top off the oil. Oil's topped. And you can always double check the oil. Go over, find your dipstick. And pull your dipstick. And we got oil right in the hash marks. Let's move the car to the paint shop that we just purchased in our last save. And this is the last thing we have to do, just spray it factory color. So once you're into the paint shop, go over here, click on your paint stand, go to paint car, current color, here's the factory color, which is what he asked us to paint it. You don't have a lot of options right now as far as other paint colors. You have to upgrade the paint shop to get that, but that's okay. So here's the factory color. Let's paint it. Just press and hold. And a quick $1,000 Earl Scheib paint job. She's done. Over to car status. Good on everything. So let's complete the order. And we're good. And so we're level 14. I don't recall if we've leveled up here or not. Let's check our... So we have 1 available skill point. And I'm going to save that skill point for Renovator. We do have a case, since we just finished a job. Yes, let's open the case. 4 and 5. Barn map and some scrap. Collect. Let's add the barn map to our list. And let's sell the old parts. Anything below 67%. And obviously we bought a few, nope, extra parts. So we have 2 rubber bushings and a brake pad saved up for our next job. Save the game. And I think this is where we'll go ahead and end guide number 9. We did the 8th story car. We check our next one. Hey, we got a van. All right. So a 1995 Bolt Cargo, which is a GMC van or a Chevy van, depending on your flavor of GM vehicles that you like. But that'll be the next car that we'll pick up on here in a second. I might also finish up the video for the hot rod that we were doing in our restoration series. So we got some stuff coming. But we'll go ahead and end this guide video. Thanks for watching. Lucas, Isaac Parker, hope you liked it.